Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We will give folks a couple more minutes to join us here, and then we will get started. All right. I know we may have a few more join us in the next few minutes, but for the sake of time, we'll go ahead and get us started. So welcome again, everyone, to what I believe is our fourth Tiger Talk in a series of, I think, 11 this summer. My name is Casey Ford, and I serve as the Interim Director for Student Transitions in the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement. And a big part of my role is supporting you as a parent or a family member or supporter of your new Clemson student. And so we know that as a part of the orientation experience, there are a few ways that you have the chance to engage with us. Maybe some of you have been or are planning to attend a Ready, Set, Roar session. Maybe you have engaged with some of the virtual orientation content. This is a third way to do that. And so we, in an effort to make sure that you all get some direct FaceTime with campus partners and to get some specific questions answered in a live virtual space, we host what we call Tiger Talks. So our webinar series that lasts all summer and offers you some of that specific content that maybe you aren't able to get in some of those other venues. And so as you can see, tonight is called Wellbeing at Clemson and focuses on exactly that, all the ways that we seek to make sure that your students are well in all of the ways. And we have a wonderful panel, of folks who are here to speak to just that. A couple reminders before we launch into that content. We will again give them a chance to introduce themselves in just a moment. They each have some presentation content prepared that they will offer with some time for questions and answers at the end. And then I will wrap us up with some closing reminders. I am confident that you all are more comfortable with the Zoom environment than you ever wanted to be, but just a couple reminders. This is a Zoom webinar, so it's a little bit different than a regular Zoom meeting. You'll see that your audio and video has been muted just to make sure that we can spend some intentional time focused on our panelists and the content that they have to share tonight. You'll also see on your toolbar somewhere on your screen that there is a question and answer tool. We would ask that you use that tool specifically to submit any questions. I know there are a couple other ways to raise hands or use the chat. We're not able to engage in those exact ways just in the webinar environment. So if you have a question about content that's being presented, if you would please use that question and answer tool, that will help all of us answer that in a timely manner. And then finally, you likely see a message somewhere on your screen saying that this meeting is being recorded. And so that will be available for future use later on the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. If there's something that comes up that you want to reference later, or you've got to jump off early, whatever the case may be, just know that this will be recorded and sent out in a couple of different ways. And we'll be sure to remind you of that here at the end. All right, at this point, I will transition over to our presenters to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you this evening. My name is Dr. Leslie Pekarik. I am a family physician by training, and I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Health and Wellness Services here at Clemson University. And I will pass it to Dr. Pellick.
Hi, my name is Dr. Chris Pellick. I am a psychiatrist by training. I have been working with Clemson over the last 6 years, but in this new role of Executive Director of Psychiatry, Counseling, and Wellbeing Services for the past year. And I am very excited to talk to you about some of our counseling and psychiatric services offered here at Clemson. And welcome, and thanks for making the commitment to be here tonight. I think it says a lot. Jared? Oh, Jennifer's next. Sorry, Jennifer's next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Gorey. I'm the director of Healthy Campus, which is part of Student Health Services. I've been at Clemson for 20 years, and I have also been in your shoes, I guess probably 2 summers ago. My son was going to start Clemson in the fall, so I know how it can feel to be a parent of a new Clemson student, and I'm thrilled to speak with you, so welcome.
Hello, folks. I'm Jared Heydrich. I am the director for our Office of Advocacy and Success in Student Affairs and serve as an assistant dean of students. I like to say we're the place where you go when you don't know where to go or who to ask. We're a great first place to start. And so excited to share with you a little bit more about us tonight.
Hey everybody, my name's Michael Scott. I'm the Associate Ombuds for Clemson. I'll tell you all about what we do later. It's probably a new name for you, but we are in the business of creating peace across campus. And so I'm happy to be speaking with you today.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Kicking off our content this evening is Student Health Services.
Hi, everyone. That's going to start with me. I just would like to orient you a little bit to what is available for your students here at Clemson University. Student Health Services is located in Redfern Health Center, and it is an integrated outpatient organization. We are accredited as an ambulatory care organization, so much like whatever your family doctor, internist, pediatrician's office would be. We are an umbrella organization that includes the medical services that I was just referring to, as well as counseling and psychological services, which Dr. Pellick will speak about in a moment, and then Healthy Campus, that is our outreach branch that Jennifer Gorey is here to talk to us about. The clinic itself is open during business hours on campus, which are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., except for Wednesdays when we have an hour of administrative time first thing in the morning. Fortunately, most students aren't chomping at the bit to get there at 8 a.m., but starting at 9 on Wednesdays. And then when the university is closed as a whole, not during breaks, for instance, we're open right now, well, not right now because it's after 4:30, but we're open during the summer, but not when the university as a whole is closed for holidays. So I mentioned our ambulatory care accreditation. We're very proud of the hard work that our staff at the health center has done, and you can see the Joint Commission seal there at the top. So that's a hard thing to accomplish, and we're proud of the hard work that's gone into that. But the various services that are available on the medical side are the medical clinic, which is a traditional outpatient primary care clinic for both preventative care and acute care, illnesses, injuries, basic mental health needs that we collaborate with counseling and psychological services for, and things such as that. We also have a nurses clinic, which could be things like wound care, tuberculosis testing, some protocol. Sorry, guys, my dog is here. And then protocol-based care. We have an allergy and immunization clinic. So when if your student receives allergy immunotherapy, they have to establish with their home physician, but we can transfer that to campus so that it does not interrupt their immunotherapy for allergy shots. And we have a sexual health and gynecology clinic and sports medicine. We're in the process of hiring that right now, so that's got an asterisk. Psychiatry, which is Dr. Pellick. And then we have a moderate complexity lab. We have in-house plain film x-rays. And then we have a full retail pharmacy. So we have a lot of services available right here in the heart of campus. So for your purposes and your students' purposes, how do they access this? They make appointments either through our website. They can access the health portal, which is the same way that they're going to be doing some of their pre-matriculation requirements, uploading immunizations, things like that. Or they can call this number that's the appointment line. So what happens when we're closed? As you may have noticed, I said that we close. If it's an emergency, they'll call 911 just like you would at home. For mental health after hours needs, on our website, they can link to protocol, and Dr. Pellick can talk a little bit more about that. And then the university has partnered with the Medical University of South Carolina to provide a virtual urgent care service, which is a 24/7 asynchronous or synchronous if needed. So it can be sort of like a chat back and forth, urgent care service that all of our fee paid students, so if you have paid the student health fee and you are physically located in the state of South Carolina for state legal requirements and licensure reasons, then you can access that 24/7, 365. For students who are who have purchased and are enrolled in the Student Health Insurance Plan, they also have access to a product called Academic Live Care. That is not limited to the state of South Carolina. That is accessible for students anywhere within the country, and it includes acute medical care. It's all a virtual healthcare platform, but it includes medical care, counseling, psychiatry, and registered dietitian care. So that's a valuable resource as well. And then there are plenty of community health centers, urgent cares, pharmacies, things like that for your student if needed after hours or on weekends. And I will pass the baton to Dr. Pellick to talk about CAPS.
Thanks, Dr. Pekarik. Well, hi, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Chris Pellick. I'm a psychiatrist. And part of my role here at Clemson, I work with really two arms. And you'll hear a bit about the second arm in a minute, Healthy Campus, from Jennifer. But the arm I'm here to talk to you right now about is our CAPS. And you'll hear that abbreviated a lot throughout college at different universities. Actually, it's pretty universal. It's the Counseling and Psychological Services. We have, I'm really proud of our team that we have. We have well over 20 counselors, and we actually have a large number of PhD trained counseling folks, which is unusual for a counseling center at a university. We have master's level and PhD level folks. And, we take a approach of what we call a stepped care model, where we try and right size what folks need based on where they are. They may need something very simple as some online modules to help with mindfulness and meditation. They may need in-person care. They may need crisis-focused care. It varies depending on where the student is. We have a variety of different services that are offered, everything from workshops, groups, very specific to individual needs, individual counseling, family counseling, couples counseling, a whole host of services, which, I'm really proud of the team that we've put together to provide these services. While I'm a psychiatrist and I follow with the medical team, as Dr. Pekarik mentioned, I do work very closely with the counselors to provide psychiatric care for the patients that need both. Next slide. So making an appointment with CAPS can be done a couple of different ways. One of the easy ways, of course, is the old telephone. I encourage students to put CAPS in their cell phones and bookmark it just in case they need it. Typically, if a student will call CAPS, what usually will happen is a phone screen will happen. At that time, CAPS will determine, is this something that's more of an urgent need? Is it something that can wait a little bit? Is it something that actually needs to wait a little bit? And then from there, working with the student, the schedule of the students, we get something set up, and we'll often do, we may refer them to the modules, like I mentioned. We may refer them to a group. We may refer them to what we call an IA, or an individual assessment, where they get a more detailed assessment for possible counseling needs or even psychiatric services. A lot of that starts, though, with usually a phone call. And students can, obviously, we have, as you saw earlier, we have a website where they can go on and navigate and get started and get these resources. And I think some of that's in the bookmark under the chat. I will say that what's really great about this is that our team we don't like to think about having lots of crises in college, but when it does happen, and it does happen, we have this excellent team that's able to quickly jump in. And, obviously during business hours that were 8 to 4:30 and then 9 to 4:30 on Wednesdays, we're able to jump in and see students usually same day, especially if it's an urgent concern. If it's a more serious concern, they may get referred to an emergency room or even a hospital. But we do have crisis services, especially walk-ins as needed. Sometimes things can wait a day or two, sometimes they can't. And our team is really, really good at working with students in those situations. And again, we hope your students aren't in that situation, but we're here and we're trained if they need us. Next slide. So this is when you hear about the different models at counseling centers, this is one of our models that we're proud of. It's called a step care model. And you can see it kind of goes from 1 to 10, and it shows you based on where a student might start. They might get resources that are online, they get a screening, they might do modules, and then based on what the issue is, they sort of go up the chain to where 10 is more serious need. It might be emergency-based help, it might be ER, it might be 911. But you can see all along the way, there's all sorts of things. Wellness doesn't have to involve just counseling. It can involve lots of different things. It might be meditation and mindfulness. It might be working with the Veteran Engagement Center. It might be going to the Student Center and things like that. And then obviously up the chain, you'll see there are some actual treatments online, group therapy, individual therapy, skills classes, groups, and then there's a point in time where some folks need more intense resources and we'll refer them out in the community. Dr. Pekarik mentioned we also have some other resources that are associated that students can access as well. But with the advent of telemental health and telehealth, we have a lot more options to get folks to good referrals if they need more significant care than we can offer. Next slide. And so we do have this these online modules called TAL. You'll hear that referred. That's therapy assistance online. And the students can work through a lot of that at their own pace or with a counselor's lead. So they may help them, guide through some of the online stuff. And that's a really nice resource. We obviously, I think one of the things, and you can see Amy who's smiling in the picture, one of the things we pride ourselves in with this entire team is that we work really well together. And when appropriate, and when we have releases and such, we talk. Obviously, because we work in the counseling center, we have a commitment to confidentiality. But when it's appropriate or when the student wants us to, we can either connect them with these resources or speak with the different groups that you'll hear from after me. And I think that's what really makes Clemson unique, is that bringing all of this together, not just counseling. And while I might be called in to do medication management or someone else might do therapy, there are a lot of other things that can contribute to well-being that may not even need to make it to us, or maybe a student that's right sizes something that is much more simple. So I think the communication piece, when appropriate, is such a key and beautiful thing about what this group brings to the table. And I'll remain online too for any questions that might come up. I know this is mental health has gained a lot of attention in the last several years, and I think that's a good thing. Obviously, not everyone needs therapy and not everyone needs medications. There are lots of other treatments, but we've really worked to taken pride in trying to make sure that we have the resources to help your student be successful. It's the journey from A to, it's really about the journey, not just getting from A to B graduation. It's about all the pieces. And, a mentor of mine once told me that some of the most successful people aren't too proud to ask for help. And that might include academics, or it might include things like counseling. So we're here if your loved one or family member needs us.
Thanks, Dr. Pellick. I'm just going to talk briefly about Healthy Campus. Healthy Campus provides population-level holistic well-being and health promotion to our students on a variety of topics. So we are the folks that create the educational material that your students will see all around campus, including the Celebrate Safely campaign that's tied to athletics, which encourages your student to know how to attend events in ways that are safer, how to go out with the same group of friends and come home with the same group of friends, how to access safe rides home, ways that they can engage in sporting events and extracurricular activities in a safe and healthy way. We also, if you've been on campus at all, you have seen, I'm sure, our How Are You Really stickers that are all over campus. They're on every doorway, every bathroom mirror, around campus. And that takes you, if you scan that QR code, takes you to information to access CAPS and to how to access care even if you're not on campus through 988. And then the You Are Not Alone campaign also is touching on those topics around mental health as well. So we're providing social media campaigns and educational campaigns directly targeting issues that affect your college students. So next slide, please. Your student also will participate in the Aspire to Be Well session. That's a required peer-to-peer facilitated dialogue. That's part of their CU 1000 experience. So they do have to complete this course, and it talks about the resources that we have on campus. It encourages them to look out for each other, how to be an active bystander, and then how to know some of the risks and warning signs around some of the higher risk issues that students might encounter on a college campus. And they get an opportunity to learn from their peers and really to set the stage for Clemson University that we are a campus that looks out for each other and that cares for each other. We also coordinate the Tigers Together suicide prevention advocacy training. So all of the students who serve as residential coordinator mentors, what we used to call RAs, all of those students will go through that training. Many of our academic advisors, faculty, and staff go through that training as a way to, again, create that culture of care for Clemson, that there is no wrong door for you to go into. If you ask for help, someone will be able to point you in the right direction. I actually offer a mindfulness workshop. It's a 4-week course, a non-credit hour course that students can participate in to build their mindfulness skills, which has been a very effective skill to help reduce anxiety and depression and stress, and also very effective at improving academic performance. So if that's something that you think your student might be interested in, you can point them to our website as well. And then also the Clemson and Sober program is for students in recovery, and we're excited about the direction that's going in. We're hoping we can build on that more in the next year to come. We also help encourage students to get involved with campus recreation and student clubs and organizations, those really positive ways that they can make connections early on so that they will be more likely to be successful throughout their college career. Next slide, please. So students can request programs from us, through us, many student organizations. We work directly with student organizations to provide educational sessions to them around a variety of topics, all related to well-being. And if we haven't created a presentation on it, we will. But these are the topics that we focus on, mostly, again, focusing on those really high-risk areas that we want to make sure students know what to avoid, and if they and then also know how to access care should they need it. Next slide. This is just a link to our new student web page. If you want to scan that QR code, that will take you directly to items that you may need to look into and go over with your students, so you're making sure that you're getting those requirements in. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jared with the Office of Advocacy and Success. Oh, wait a minute. I think Dr. Pickett wants to make another point.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm sorry we didn't have it in our slides, but I did want to mention, I often get asked, and I'm not inferring anything about anyone's personal health information based on questions that may have been asked tonight, but in similar sessions, I do often get asked about ADHD medications and our policies and procedures around that. That information is available on our Student Health Services website. As anyone or many parents know who have gone through the process of managing ADHD with their children, those medications are controlled substances, and there can be some nuances around transferring that ongoing prescribing to student health services. And as I'm sure you're also aware, if you've dealt with those medications before, they can potentially be drugs of abuse. And that is something that we are concerned about in this patient population. College is traditionally one of those times where we talk about that being an issue with drugs of abuse in stimulants. So we're extra careful about that. People often find our policies very conservative, but that is really to protect the student population. You do not want a record with the DEA from college that can cause some serious long-term problems for you in your life going forward. So anyway, it's for everyone's protection. Please review that. Another big area that we get asked about and is growing in commonality is biologic medications and specialty medications, as those types of medications are more and more common and are being utilized for more and more different conditions. And for those, I would refer you specific questions about those. Some we can manage through student health services and some we can't. For instance, we do not have an infusion center. So for specific questions regarding those medications, I would refer you to our pharmacy, which is also open and available to answer questions during business hours. And they're quite experienced with these things. So I hope that answers any questions that we have outstanding about medications. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Pekarik and the Student Health Services team. As Jennifer mentioned, I believe we are transitioning over to Jared.
Perfect. Thank you. You can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Mhm.
So we are the Office of Advocacy and Success. Our role on campus really is to be a trusted place for folks to come and get support. Maybe when they don't know where to go or who to talk to or how to access a particular resource. We're also a place that anyone in our community can reach out to when they are concerned about a particular student and their well-being or their success, and share those concerns. And we'll reach out to your student to talk through those and help get them connected. And the way that we do that is through our Care Network program, which is what we're of course most known for, and I'll talk most about tonight. Our office also manages student emergencies with an asterisk. We manage a team of student affairs professionals who are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to respond to any emergencies that occur outside of business hours. After maybe our public safety partners have addressed the immediate safety needs, so that your student can have that support if needed. Additionally, we strive to be the kind of resource hub, since we are the place where folks come to go to get that information. And so we try to be really knowledgeable about that. And then also off-campus student services falls in our area. And so I think I was here last week to talk about that. So if you weren't able to join us, take a peek at that reporting last week in the family portal. But as I mentioned, we really operate and need an entire community to be able to support our students and support their sense of belonging, and really rely on individuals who are close to your student, their RA, the full-time master's level professional staff member that lives in their building, known as a community director, or their academic advisor or faculty member, to notice that maybe something is wrong or they're not succeeding or aren't as well as they used to be, and to initiate those conversations and let our office know that they may be concerned about them. We do that through our Care Network to receive referrals. But we also know that people receive support best from people that they know rather than maybe a stranger jumping into their lives. And so we are also available to our community to offer them support as they provide support to your students. And so nearly every day, advisors, hall directors, faculty members are calling our office to talk about a concern they may have, and we're helping them provide support to your student as well. So as I mentioned, we do that through the Care Network. And what it is really a case management program, a non-clinical case management programming, meaning that none of our staff are operating under any sort of licensure or counselor status, but really here to offer individualized support to your student to learn about their experience, learn what they're facing, and what support they may currently have or need, and then helping them get connected to those things, whether they be through a resource that exists on our campus, or maybe even a resource that exists out in the Clemson or greater Pickens County community. We are a non-emergency resource. So if you want to go to I think the next slide is the emergency. I'll get there in a moment. We are not an emergency resource. We'll talk a little bit about emergencies and where to contact when you have those things. But what do we get referrals for? Here is the common list of things, and let you take a second to look through those. But really, any and everything from academic issues to mental health, financial hardship, social or interpersonal conflict. We can really be called on to help you navigate the university and the resources that exist to address those things. This next list shows those top 10 from most common to, I won't say least common because that's about the middle of the pack, but those top 10 issues that our first year students in the last calendar year have faced, and they may or may not come to any surprise for you, but these are the things that maybe you as a parent can start or a loved one can start to think about what your student may face and how you might support or show up for them. And know that for every one of these things on this list, you can direct your student to our office, or you're welcome to call our office, and we can help you navigate. There's that. I think my formatting might have got a little messed up in the move, so please pardon that. But as I mentioned earlier, any of the things that you see there on the right-hand side of the screen, those are things that we would consider emergencies, and we would want to trust our partners at Clemson University Police or Fire and EMS to be able to address. And so if you do need immediate support, that 864-656-2222 phone number is a great phone number to make sure that you have in your phone when you need it. You can also use that number once your student moves off campus and maybe they're not on campus. And our Public Safety Communications Center can get you connected to the right 911 center that can dispatch police, fire, and EMS for where your student may actually be at here in the greater area. So instead of having to find that number, you can just call us and let them know where they live. So how do you make a referral? You're welcome to do that through our website, clemson.edu/care-network. And about halfway down the screen, you'll see the big orange button that says Care Network Referral Form where the purple arrow is pointing. The purple arrow is not on the website, so don't look for that. But that is the form that you can click and you can do a written referral. Or on the next slide, Casey, you are always welcome to call our office as well. That 864-656-0935 number. Please give us a call. Let us know what's going on, and we may be able to help you over the phone, or we can reach out to your student and invite them in to come in for a meeting. One thing I do like to highlight, though, is that once your student goes to college, regardless of their age, their right to privacy transfers from you to them as it relates to their educational records. And so we may not be able to answer questions specifically about your student and the information that's contained by the university without their consent. Additionally, there's no one central waiver at the university to sign because students don't necessarily know all the records that may exist about them on the front end. And so our philosophy at Clemson is that your student would need to sign a release with the office that maintains the records. And so if your student is working with us and they want you to be a part of their support system, we can talk with them about signing that release form so that we can bring you in. There is an asterisk to that, of course, if there are health or safety emergencies, we can release information related to that to help make sure that that individual or your student or others are safe during the time that the emergency is happening. So there's, of course, that caveat, but otherwise, general day-to-day inquiries, we won't be able to share information without your student's consent. Our office manages this webpage that's on the Student Affairs website that has a lot of information about a lot of different campus and community-based resources. That is an excellent place for students and families to go and learn about resources that exist on their own. And they're all, for right now, categorized, as you see on the screen, by kind of some of the different groupings of things that students face and the resources that may be applicable to that. And if you want to click over once, Casey, to the next slide. We're currently going through a rebranding, so hopefully by the time your student gets here in August, That webpage will look a little bit different. So if you look at it later and it's not what you just saw, that's why. And so our goal, if you want to click one more, Casey, is for, uh-oh, there to be a lot more information when you click into each of those kind of areas that help you to get quickly connected to information that is maybe on a lot of different web pages that you're not quite sure how to find. Our goal is to centralize some of that information with ways that your student themselves can start to become more well or become more successful. Or if you want to click now, Casey, lots of more comprehensive information about different campus resources and the different services they provide. So trying to get all that information in one area so that you're not looking in 10,000 places. So once our office does receive a referral, whether that's you reaching out or somebody else in the campus community reaching out to because they're concerned about your student, we will review those within one business day. So we only look at those during business hours, similar to our friends at Student Health Services. And that will be assigned to one of many people that are part of our care network. So there are staff members in my office in Advocacy and Success, as well as other staff members in the Dean of Students Office, University Housing, and Fraternity and Sorority Life that help us to follow up and make connections with students. And so it may be someone from our office, but it may also be another student affairs professional who is reaching out to your student to kind of invite them in for a meeting to talk about maybe what the person who is concerned about, and get their perspective on that. And if so, there are true concerns there to talk through the support or resources that exist. We'll reach out to your student in a lot of different ways. Of course, email, but also we will call or text or send letters through our electronic system that we have, that are electronic letters that'll go to both their phone and their email. So if they're seeing things from the care network, they are real and they are important. So encourage your student to respond and engage with us. Again, we're not disciplinary. Nothing that happens through us is punitive. We're truly here to support your student. Engaging with us to that end will always be voluntary. We'll never require individuals to come in and meet with us. And also to that end, your student kind of assumes the responsibility on following through with the resources that we may suggest or recommend to them that may help address their issue or the challenge that they're facing. We'll never force students to go and actually utilize a resource like Student Health Services or the Academic Success Center, but we'll certainly talk with them about the benefits of it, how to use the resource, and do that effectively. We also get a question a lot about kind of how we can influence academic decisions. We cannot do that. We don't have any authority over any academic processes or outcomes, but we are here to help students to learn the processes of how to contest a grade or how to be out of class because a loved one died and those sorts of things, and help them to advocate for themselves and navigate those processes. So they're welcome to come to us, but we can't necessarily influence the outcome of them. And then also we do not disclose who made a referral to the care network unless that person gives us explicit permission to do so. We err on the side of that individual out of a good faith effort to support your student made that referral and strive to keep those things anonymous to the extent that's permissible by law. And then my last note, we often get the question of what's the difference between CAPS and CARE. CAPS, as Dr. Pellick talked about earlier, those are our mental health experts on campus. They are providing mental health treatment, diagnosis, and crisis intervention. We very often refer students to CAPS. As you may have seen earlier, it's one of the top 3 reasons that individuals are referred to the care network is related to mental health. So we often work close with them and get the students connected there. We are focused on educating people about the resources that exist and coaching them towards using those resources, but not providing treatment. None of the folks on our staff are mental health counselors.
All right. Thank you, Jared. Apologies for some of the formatting on those slides. Jared makes a beautiful PowerPoint, so I felt that was important to note. And wrapping us up for the evening is our presentation from Michael Scott in the Ombuds Office.
All right, thank you. All right, so many of you are probably wondering what an ombuds is. It's kind of a weird little word, but basically, this is just a little fun fact. And the word ombuds is a Swedish word. If you click one more time, and they actually created the King of Sweden back in the 17th century, found the need to have a person that would go across the kingdom and bring information back to them to tell everybody about what's going on. And so that's kind of what we do. It's part of what we do. And it means a person with a message. But what we are is we are a resource where people can go when they have concerns, when they're having conflict, when they don't understand processes or procedures across campus. And really anyone connected to campus can use us. So we work with everybody from faculty, staff, undergrad students, graduate students, parents, and disgruntled football fans. I mean, they really, the whole myriad of people calls us, and we're always happy to help. So how do we do that? Next. You can click. So we do what we do in kind of two different buckets. First, we provide support through local support, and that's our everyday conflict coaching, listening. We're there to be a sounding board. We help to generate options. We can make referrals to other resources, answer questions about university policies, give information about formal processes on campus and what those formal processes would look like. We can educate individuals on self-advocacy, conflict management, emotional intelligence. We also mediate conflicts. So if a whole suite of roommates is having problems and they can't get over the hump solving those problems, we can voluntarily get involved and help them solve those problems. We also facilitate larger discussions just on problem solving and conflict management. And next, we take all of the information that we gather on the types of issues that we see, and we provide those trends to leaders across campus so that they can get ahead of the conflicts, get ahead of the problems, and make changes across their department, within their college or university as a whole. We also go out, and some of your students might see us in their classrooms. We'll go out and talk about some of our trainings in their classrooms or at some of the professional organizations that they're a part of. And we also make recommendations to leaders on campus. Next. And so you can click 4 times or 3 more times, but we are governed by the Ombuds Standards of Practice. And this is really what sets us apart from other resources on campus. We are first and foremost 100% confidential unless somebody tells us that they plan to hurt themselves or somebody else. Short of that, we are not mandatory reporters, even when it comes to sexual harassment or sexual assault. So if somebody comes to us and they are suffering from something like this, we're able to talk to them about the process, what the process would look like going forward if they were to choose to move forward with a formal option. We don't keep any type of data on contact information or personal information. We do collect data on the types of issues that we see so that we're able to provide trends to leaders on campus. We're also neutral, so we don't advocate for the people that come to see us, and we don't advocate for the university. So if somebody is having an issue, we're really able to give them that outside look at things, help them reframe it so that they have the best options moving forward for them. We're also informal. So coming to us doesn't generate a formal process. Unlike going to another resource on campus, our visitors may choose to do nothing once we talk about things, and that's okay. We're also independent. We do fall under the provost's office, but the provost doesn't dictate how we help people, which really allows us to help people get from where they're at to really where they want to be. Next. And so based on that, these are what the things that we don't do. We don't accept notice on behalf of the university. We don't advocate for anyone or for the university. We don't make any type of binding decisions. We don't participate in any formal process, procedure, or investigation, and we don't create any identifiable records. Next. And so a little bit more on our proactive work. These are the types of trainings that we do. So we may be in classrooms doing that. If your student is part of an organization and they're complaining to you about, you know, that organization's really dysfunctional, just have them call us. We can come out and we can conduct any of these trainings or a combination of these trainings. And we could do it in large groups or small groups. But like I said in the beginning, our main goal is just to create peace for everybody on campus. Next. And this is our contact information. We have 3 people that work in our office. Any of us will be able to help your student, and they can reach out to us over the phone. I'm not even going to ask for their name if they call and they just say, hey, I'm having this issue. Can you help? Yes, I can help. And we'll go forward with it. But we also have our website. We can meet in person in our office at a place of their choice or over video calls. So we're just here to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I would just offer a personal echo of what he shared from the Ombuds Office. My team is currently sort of engaged with them and doing a lot of work with our team specifically, and that has been super beneficial. So certainly here to recommend the University Ombuds for any of those needs. All right, I know we were able to answer a few questions throughout the presentation, so I think we are actually pretty caught up in terms of questions and answers here. In our remaining few minutes, of course, you're welcome to submit any lingering thoughts or questions there through the Q&A feature. But in the meantime, I will go ahead and offer some final reminders. So as we mentioned at the beginning of this session, the recording, as well as a lot of other content related to the parent family experience, will make its way to the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. I know that is a long name, and many of the tools we offer have long names, but I promise they are super helpful. So maybe some of you have seen this before. It's very likely that you are in our 2025 Parent Family Orientation community. We set that up for our incoming family members so that they have a place where they can reference, kind of go back and forth some of the campus resources, Clemson University news updates, any kind of information that we think would be super pertinent to you and your new student. And so we have content that is staggered and scheduled to post that's been happening since May and will go all the way through August, kind of relevant to a lot of these resources. So you may not know exactly all the details from our Calling Clemson Home webinar, for example, but then you might get to Move-In Week and really want to reference those and kind of look back at some of those specifics. And so we've got that built in for you. A super easy way to get started on the portal if you are not already. I'll have Riley kind of drop that link there in the chat so you can get started on setting up that profile. Okay, as I mentioned, that recording will give us a few days to get it processed and uploaded in our various places, and then we'll send that out through the portal in the next week. Did want to just highlight our upcoming Tiger Talk session. So I mentioned that we had several going on this summer. Our next one is going to be our second iteration of our financial aid and student billing session. So if you have specific questions about your student's financial status, payment plans, anything in that realm, that is coming up next. And then we've got a couple more slides here that just offer the remainder of our schedule, a couple more there in July, and then we will round out that Tiger Talk schedule up in the first week of August. So we will send a link here in the chat that shows the full descriptions of each of those sessions, as well as the links to register for each of those. With that said, I think we have wrapped up for the evening. So hope to see you at the next few sessions. Thank you again for joining this one, and I hope you all have a great evening. Go Tigers.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.